Hi, Fran. How are you? Good. I'm doing well as well. So what I have here for you today is a an org chart that pretty much has my team on it, and a few bullet points are my thoughts on their capabilities for the future as well as their current wage. And I also am bringing along the sheet underneath that is the other org chart that is where I believe the path should be going, and it also includes some of the new wages for the people that I wish to keep on board and maintain. And then we'll also be going over there's a sheet there, there's a table of the promotions and the merit raises. So to begin, I'd like to just go over briefly what some of the key individuals are and some of the key problem areas where I believe need to be fixed in order to get us to the world class level. And so to begin, I'll go over what our key players are, and it's basically very simple. There are three of them that are the real superstars of the Treasury Department right now, and that's Chris Moy. I know that you may have had a disagreement with her in the past, or that she's a bit too gruff when it comes to challenging ideas within a group setting, especially when challenging her coworkers, so her colleagues rather, and then upper management. And that is something that I'm going to have a development plan with her for and make a goal. We've already discussed this in an impromptu conversation that she needs to work on just phrasing things better when she has a disagreement or her ideas differ. So it's more of a dialogue instead of an accusation. And so we're already going to work on that. But outside of that, she's a great asset. She can run her team very well. She's a great manager, and she also chooses very wisely her hires. And she definitely sees potential and sees where things need to go in order to get the job done. The one issue is that it might be hard to keep her around in the Treasury Department. She may either look outside the company or she'll want to move to a different department that has more upward mobility if she finds that in the future there is no upward mobility here. So I know not to pitch myself for the role, but obviously, I'd be gunning for the CFO role, and if I do get that, then she would be a shoe-in for the treasurer. In my opinion, she'd have my recommendation. But if for some reason I do not get chosen, then she might end up not wanting to stay, and I'd have to find somebody to replace her. Outside of her, then you have one of the newest analysts, which is John Ravia there on the left. And basically, he is a rock star. He's a fresh MBA graduate. He's currently worked here for 2 years, but anything we give him, he can just pick it up immediately and he runs with it. And he is also somebody that would be critical to hold on to. And he's a star, and there's a lot of potential there, but he is not going to want to stay. He needs to be challenged. I can't just keep him at an analyst level. I think I need to give him a raise in order to keep him here or give him more challenging roles. And the same goes for Richard Williams. He feels almost stifled. He also can, he in the beginning, I feel like he still needs to work on his interpersonal skills. He still needs to build better relationships with his coworkers as a whole to prepare him for the managerial role of assistant treasurer. But I do believe that he is a good fit eventually for that. And so those are my three key players, and the others here I'll briefly go over is that I've chosen Sam Burns as the new director of investor relations. I believe that he is talented. He does have experience working in a $15 billion company. I believe has talent. He is ambitious and he has drive, and that comes from within. He may not be as polished on the outside as some of the other candidates, but I believe that the skills that he's lacking can be taught and developed, and I believe that the core talent is there and the drive is there, and that will make him into an excellent director of investor relations. A couple other notes to kind of segue into my plan for the future would be Leslie is not really ambitious enough. I do not believe that he is really going to be able to be trained for the future. I don't see him. He's been working here for a very long time. He's very dedicated. It's hard for me to say this and kind of, put the guy down. But he's not a good mentor. He doesn't want to develop his team. He doesn't really want to go anywhere else, and he's not ambitious enough to really think about this world class team in an effective manner. So I'm almost believe that it would be better if he would find work elsewhere, and then I'll move somebody else into his position. And I'll get more into detail on that in a little bit. You also have Terry, who is ambitious, but he has, that whole instant thing. Outside of that and his limitations as far as work hours go, in my discussions with him, he's definitely very willing to. He wants to climb the ladder. He is ambitious. He is very good at his role. He does pick things up very quickly, and I believe that he has potential, but the route that he wants to go is more of he would like to be able to work from home a couple days a week, and he believes that he will be able to increase his productivity by being able to use the commuting hours, so 2 hours additional a day he can use to work on projects from home, and then also work on projects after 9. And so what I was going to do, I will let you know in a little bit. I'm going to do it on a trial basis, depending on his performance, depending on how he does with additional responsibilities. To move on, James Legree is somebody in Leslie's department that may need to be let go if we wish to go to be a world-class outfit. He doesn't have a background in finance, and he hasn't been trained by Leslie, so there is opportunity for him to stay on, but he would need to be trained, and he's an engineering background, as have many of the employees here. They have been cross-trained over time, but to be world class, do we really have the time to spend to train these individuals to get them to a level where they really, we could find somebody at that wage range who's already competent, and perhaps more ambitious, because they're hungrier, they want to be in that field specifically, and they want to take it to new places and make it more efficient. And training somebody who didn't necessarily want to be in that role to begin with, to kind of just to get them up to a competent level, I don't think is what we want to do at this stage in order to be world class. And to take it further, though, he is kind of in a protected position because of issues with his family and issues with his performance in the past. He's been moved around quite a bit within the company. And that's because Peter, the president, has requested that he be found a position. And so in order to let him go, it would most likely have to go through Peter, and that might be in your ballpark and not mine, to kind of bring that up with him and see if it's something that he wants to admit is necessary, or otherwise. I believe that I do have a new fit for him that might help us get to a more competent level. And then you have Karina, my new hire. I will admit fault here in that I did not necessarily look to see how she would work in my type of managerial environment, but that's also someplace where I need to develop myself. She is more of somebody who needs a lot more direction, and she comes from a highly corporate background, and so she wants to really be told what the system is, what the realm is, and the rules are, so that then she can go and maximize procedure process for that and try to find ways to improve it. instead of being just given a task, not knowing the full realm and figuring it out as you go. She doesn't work that well in that environment, and that's the environment that I have. But I think that there is great potential there. She does have great ideas now that she has gotten an idea of what her realm really involves and what some of these processes are. I believe if I work more closely with her on training her, then I believe that she could end up being a great core asset for this team. And that leaves Pam Sullivan. And so Pam initially, like James, was in a different role, and her position was actually being downsized. And a former employee here, Lou, you might be familiar with the situation, kind of brought her on and trained her in this department, in the capital budgeting position, if you will. And so doesn't have a natural proclivity for the finance. That wasn't what she was trained initially, but she does have some skill, and she is learning more underneath Karina. I do believe that it's a bit too soon to really put that much more responsibility on her shoulders, but I believe that the opportunity is there, and I believe that Karina should have a chance to further improve and train Pam. And so now I'm going to move over to just briefly going over the raises. So looking at this briefly, we kind of see that if, I still have Leslie on here, even though I do believe it might be best to let him go. But I would give him, and it's not really letting him go for poor performance, but it's just not really great for the world-class department that we need. And so I would give him a rating of 3. It is expected. He does work long hours and dedicated. He could be more efficient, but really as a manager, you need to be willing to train your team and not just take all the responsibility yourself. Especially if, as we become global, we need somebody that's going to take on more and more and more responsibility and maybe expand his departments by 2, 3 more people if we grow that much. And if he's not willing to train them, then that's an issue. But I would still give him a rating of a 3, and that would come with a 2% merit raise. And so you see his end result there. And a couple more people of note is just James. He's underperforming right now, and so I believe he deserves a 4. As well as Karina. She is not performing at her maximum. She is aware of this, and so I don't think that'll come as a surprise, as well as James. But on the other hand, Richard, giving a 1. John, I'm giving a 1, and Chris, because they are our rock stars. I do not want them to leave the company. And so that is the rundown of the raises and the wage recommendations that I have. And now to move on to the org chart of what I believe it should be in the future to truly make this place a world-class organization. And so you see that Chris Moy has replaced Leslie as the inventory and cash management assistant treasurer. And this is an effort to keep her challenged, to broaden her scope, and also this would be a way to, to train her to take over my position, to backfill my position, pending if I get the raise or whatever happens. I believe it'll give her new challenges so that she doesn't feel stagnant, and I believe it'll also just help us as a whole get to a better place. And then you also see that I have James Legree. We are going to assume that he is going to stay on and for this instance. And I moved him over to Karina's department because I believe that she is very good at creating procedures and training. And that is what her passion and where her talents lie. And so I believe that she will be able to get James, who is very passionate and dedicated. He does have the drive and he really wants to give back to the company and is willing to learn. So I believe there is good potential for James to get to a much better place with her help and training. And since she's already worked so well with Pam, I believe that would be a good fit. Um, then you also have Richard, who is going to be assuming the receivables assistant treasurer position, even though he may be somewhat inexperienced as far as a managerial role is concerned. I do believe that myself and Chris can continue to work with him, and since Chris has already been successfully running that position, I believe she has a lot still that she can help him with more on a lateral level rather than a subordinate. And this would give John Ravi the opportunity to grow, as well as Richard the opportunity to grow, so they do not feel that they are stagnant and I have my rock stars leaving on me. And it also opens up positions throughout the two tiers of inventory and cash management and receivables to then allow us to bring in new talent and really make those all three of these teams more more productive and at a higher level. And then so you have John moving up to the senior analyst position in receivables, and you have Terry, who at this point in time I believe we will raise him up to senior analyst pending his ability to increase his productivity. And what I'm going to suggest for his performance plan and goals going forward is, if he does really mean that he can work from home, he first needs to show me by working in the evenings. Before being allowed to work entirely at home, then if he can get small tasks and small things completed to show the dedication and show that he does mean what he says and he is going to be on the ball, then I don't see any problem with at least trying it on a trial basis. Him staying at home and being able to really perform, and then if he can do that with his current duties, along with a slightly increased duties of the analyst position, then I would like to give him the senior analyst position and then more time to work from home if he does indeed end up being more productive. And so what this ends up doing is it frees up the department of the inventory and cash management to kind of get out of the doldrums it's been in. With the management Leslie has been doing, he is not interested or motivated to increase anybody else's performance. He's mostly interested in continuing his performance in the same manner, not trying to innovate, not trying to create new things, not trying to synergize with his employees and really make a great team. He just wants to do the work and stay at work. And it's really not efficient, and he burns himself out. And even though he's a great asset, and it does pain me to say it, I really do believe it's probably best to let him go. And going a bit further, if we do end up deciding, with Peter and yours involvement, of course, that James isn't a good fit and that he's not really who we want to train as of right now, then that also leaves up a position open in each department for us to really find some more motivated talent. And it raises the bar for all employees, and it gives those that really desire it a chance to move up and grow. And so after you have a chance to review, if you have any questions, let me know and I can walk you through a little bit more of these key individuals. And I hope this was satisfactory. Thank you.